Whether you're a true blue, honest-to-God cowpuncher or a Brooklyn hipster looking to add a little bit of Western flair into your folksy wardrobe, odds are you've heard of Tecovas. But there are so many new brands popping up every day following a similar, kind of model. Create a shiny new direct-to-consumer brand, market yourselves as a fresh new direction to a product, cutting out high markups, and then slowly establish your own brick-and-mortar retail network. This is essentially how Tecovas began. Amidst all of this enticing and allegedly disruptive marketing, it can be a little bit of a challenge to tell what is, in fact, a good value and what is just made cheaply and advertised expensively. We can settle that question right up top. Tecovas makes great boots. If you're in a hurry or you don't have the desire to work your way through an entire review video, that's the takeaway. Do you want a really solid quality, Western style pair of boots that aren't dreadfully expensive? Then you should probably buy some Tecovas. Hey everyone, this is Troy from Stridewise.com. As some of you know, I occasionally come on and co-host videos with Nick or do reviews of some boots or bags or things of my own. Today I'm going to be going through the Tecovas Earl, one of, I think, the best, certainly one of the best entry-level cowboy boots on the market today. Based in Austin, Texas, Tecovas was started by Paul Hendrick. While the company initially started as a direct-to-consumer company, specializing in cowboy and Western style boots, they have since expanded to brick and mortar retail spaces across 16 states, offering now clothing, leather bags, accessories, and even now a more work-focused collection called ranch wear. Now, Tecovas offers a few different combinations of basic boot designs, but in essence, it breaks down to a combination of either round or square toe, short or tall heel. A few more variations include wedge sole, zipper shaft, or more of a Chelsea style, while some of the boots can get pretty fancy with more exotic hides or, detailing and ornamentation, resulting in, certainly an increased price. The most simple and understated of their designs is the Earl. Made in several different colors of calfskin leather, the Earl is a classic Western-style roper boot with a 10-inch shaft and a flat 1 1/8 inch stacked heel. Now, the roper-style boots differ from a more traditional cowboy boot in that they have a shorter, less dramatic kind of styled heel as compared to the slanted style normally seen on a more traditional cowboy boot, as well as a shorter shaft which comfortably fits under slightly more fitted jeans. This results in a more casual, perhaps more accessible style for those that don't want to go full-on yeehaw with their boot. The Earl is made from calfskin leather sourced from our friends at Lafarque in Mexico and made in León. Now, we've certainly talked about Lafarque a number of times, as they are the tannery behind quite a few of our favorite companies like Thursday and Saddleback, among many, many others. Long story short, Lafarque makes some excellent leather. If you see that Lafarque is where the leather's coming from, odds are you're off to a pretty good start. The Earl is built in a fairly traditional cowboy boot fashion with a slim shaft relative to a more fitted toe box that pinches kind of towards the middle of the foot. The lining is a smooth cowhide with the footbed liner made from a similar hide in combination with a little bit of EVA padding underneath that heel for improved comfort. From there, the sole is constructed with a combination of stacked leather, cork, a metal shank with a sort of a flared plastic coating of sorts on it, resulting in this sort of slight fiddle waist kind of shape underneath the boot. Along the waist, you'll notice that there's actually double rows of lemon wood pegs. Using wooden pegs is a very traditional manner of building a cowboy boot, but Tecova does use some additional brass nails kind of beneath that outer layer of leather for added reinforcement. The benefits of wooden pegs versus nails is frankly a far more detailed, nuanced debate, better suited for, like cobblers than us. But in any case, it's a charming feature, which honestly has held up pretty well considering how much I've actually worn these. The 1 1/8 stacked heel is a combination of rubber for the cap, 4 different layers of very thick leather with a piece of sort of plastic that meets where the stack is with the actual heel of the upper. The rubber heel cap is very, very thick and provides a nice amount of, sort of extra support and a little bit of added traction considering the rest of the outsole is also leather. All in all, it's a very nicely built boot with clean details and even stitching throughout both the welt and the, light ornamentation that you see along the shaft of the boot. As the boots have gotten more broken in, a few loose threads have started to appear here and there, but these all seem to be fairly cosmetic and nothing really that suggests that anything's, starting to come apart or really any seams that are failing, which is nice. Nothing that, a little scissor and a lighter can't solve. Moving on to comfort, sizing, and pricing. Like our initial thoughts up front on Tecovas, we can be fairly frank here. These boots are super comfortable. From the very first moment, the footbed was soft and supple, and that only improved as they began to kind of form more to the shape of my foot. It's a fairly rare thing to be able to say, but in terms of the usual battle of breaking in a boot, these had virtually no break-in period at all. From what I understand about cowboy boots anyway, is that they should be pretty comfortable from the get-go. This is not like your normal kind of, logger style boot where you have to really fight it to get it to work for you. Cowboy boots are about comfort and wearing them for very, very long hours. And these, frankly, have been excellent in those terms. With regards to sizing, the Earl is available ranging from 7 to 15 with most half sizes and both a D and a double E width. Going about half size down from your Brannock size should typically do the trick. I'm usually about a 9D, and these are an 8.5D, and they fit perfectly. Though, should be noted that they do fit a little bit differently than a normal laced boot, kind of similar to the way a Chelsea or a Jodhpur boot kind of might fit you, right? You're going to have a little bit more movement vertically inside the boot with the heel lifting, but you don't want to have too much movement in terms of your foot sliding forward towards the kind of the front of the toe box. Once you get your foot in there, you should have a little bit of that lift in the heel, but feel otherwise pretty secure without either too much room in the toe or without you jamming your toe up to the front of the boot. And if you're able to kind of get that initial fit, it's like a dream. It's really nice. With that having been said, a brand new stiff pair of cowboy boots can be a little bit tricky to put on, even and honestly even tougher to get off. The trick is really not to be kind of sitting down when you put them on, but rather to stand and use those pull tabs to pull the boot on. Getting them off at least initially is, it's gonna be a little bit of a wrestling match. Just be prepared for it. But once you do get them on and they feel nice and secure, it's really pretty fantastic. Now, at $265, the Earl is certainly not inexpensive, but it's also pretty reasonable considering the quality and the finishing presented here. And honestly, it feels completely appropriate. It's not underpriced, it's not overpriced, it's just a fair price for what these are. Many other options are available with more exotic hides or more detail and decoration. All of that, of course, increases the price, but in terms of the most basic, no-nonsense Western-style boot, it's really hard to go wrong with the Earl. Moving on to some pros and cons. Right up top, the leather quality is really pretty great. It's what we would expect from Lafarque. Overall, the stitching, all of the detailing, and that classic kind of cowboy boot construction leads to something that feels very traditional and very honest as a cowboy boot, rather than some sort of weird modern hybrid boot, right? That's kind of trying to be Western, but kind of trying to be street. It really doesn't feel like that. It just feels like an honest, no nonsense boot, built well out of good materials. That it's an unpretentious boot, I think is a good way to say it, really. Additionally, there is virtually no break-in period. Certainly as the boot kind of worked in, you get a little bit more, creasing in the toe box. They only became more comfortable. But that initial moment when my foot went in there, that, little bit of padding in the insole was super comfortable. And through some very long days wearing these, both walking all around the city and wearing them out in the countryside. There was never a day where at the end I couldn't wait to get these off. It was just comfortable and supportive throughout. Additionally, the wide variety of different hides and colors available, more exotic hides, alligator, caiman, ostrich. I think there's some goat that's available on there as well now. There's a lot of different kind of directions you can take these basic designs and, really kind of dress them up or wear them more casually depending on how you want them to look. To that point, the shorter, more roper style heel, it's a little less dramatic than a normal full-on cowboy boot heel. So if you are a little bit apprehensive about wearing something that is a cowboy boot or wearing something more more Western in style, this can kind of be a good kind of midpoint to ease into the style without going full-on country, as it were. Finally, the fact that this boot is available in half sizes is just the best. I get that, especially with these younger direct-to-consumer companies, startup shoe companies, they can't afford straight up to make a million sizes in every single shoe. But as someone who often ends up needing a half size, not being able to get one has straight up eliminated entire brands from me being able to wear them and test them and review them for you all. Moving on to the cons. Now, that Western styling can be a little bit polarizing for some people and frankly can feel a little out of place in certain environments. I mean, there's a fine line between having a little bit more of that kind of Western edge to your style and just looking like the rhinestone cowboy, right? Walking down the street looking like an idiot. So that's going to be a little bit polarizing. If you're concerned about that, the roper can be a nice kind of happy medium in between the two. If you don't like Western styling, why are you watching a review on cowboy boots? What are you doing? I don't get it. Additionally, that EVA foam insert in the footbed, though the top of it is leather, that EVA foam in there is going to compress over time, and it's not a replaceable component. That's not something that you can easily pull out of the boot when you go to resole it. So as that breaks down, you're just going to have to accept that, or it could be kind of a pain in the neck, a little bit of a headache if you end up wanting to replace that down the road. This is always the trade-off with synthetic materials in boots. Like, they do lead to instant comfort, but that's the trade-off. You're either going to like that or you're not going to like that. Finally, in terms of the overall styling, the Earl might be a little bit too plain and understated for some folks if they want a little bit more of that full-on cowboy boot vibe, right? There are certainly other options that are available from Tecovas, of obviously the same build quality and everything else, that just have a little bit more going on. As previously mentioned, Tecovas makes great boots, just straight up. From the first moment, the Earl was instantly comfortable, even if it put up a little bit of a fight getting it on in the first place. Having worn them in a variety of different environments, walking around New York City all day and, spending some day out at the horse barn, mucking out trailers and just walking around, fields and stuff like that, the Earl has been completely comfortable and reliable. What we can say is that if you want a little bit of Western flair in your boot wardrobe, you could do a hell of a lot worse. And that does it for my review of the Tecovas Earl boot. What do you guys think? Are you thinking of integrating a little bit more of a Western country flair into your wardrobe? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more boot content, and who knows, maybe more cowboy boots as well.